We will now begin this round with affirmative constructive speech for 4 minutes. Are you ready?
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson, judges, and everyone. My name is Hinana Riki. Advantage 1. The decline in Japanese rice agriculture will stop. Presentation. Rice agriculture has been declining because the tariff makes most farmers conservative. According to Professor Kobashi of Kagoshima International University, quote, the high tariff discourages full-time farmers from working hard and improving their agricultural methods, unquote. Moreover, even if they want to do large-scale farming, the policy of reducing rice acreage, also known as the Gentan policy, is an obstacle to farmers' progress. Therefore, farmland remains small-scale and productivity remains low. In addition, this situation makes the profit small and the agriculture less attractive to young people. So there are no successors. Therefore, rice agriculture has no future. Effect. After the plan, cheaper foreign rice will appear in the Japanese market. Then the Japanese government will not be able to adjust rice in the domestic market, and the Gentan policy will be unnecessary and it will disappear. So Japanese farmers will face a challenge because their business rivals will appear and the obstacle will disappear. Part-time farmers will make quit farming to focus on their other job. That's okay, but many full-time farmers cannot resign from farming because they don't have the skills to work another job, and all their life depends on rice farming. So they will try to decrease the cost of production somehow. For example, 1. Making farmlands bigger. According to Yamashita Kazuto, who is an agricultural scholar, quote, part-time farmers will quit and they will rent their farmland, so it is possible for full-time farmers to get the farmland and make it bigger. And 2. Decreasing the personal expense by introducing machines and raising productivity of each body field. According to National Diet Library, quote, the removal of tariff will make it possible to decrease the personal expense, unquote. After the decrease of the cost, Japanese rice will be sold much more, not only in Japan but also around the world. In these ways, the benefit to farmers will increase. Therefore, full-time farmers will improve Japanese rice farming and stop its decline. Importance. The Japanese rice agriculture is important for farmers and people's lives because rice is last food which they can feed themselves. So Japan must leave the rice agriculture forever. But in fact, the present agriculture situation is critical. According to NHK Online, quote, Japanese rice farming will disappear after 8 years certainly, unquote. So the government should make an improvement whose first step is to change conservative farmers. Advantage 2. Consumers will get benefit. Present situation. At present, 2 policies waste people's money. That policies are 1. Putting tariff on foreign rice. According to Economic News, quote, now people have to buy expensive foreign rice because of high tariff, unquote. 2. Carrying out the Gentan policy. According to Canon Institute, quote, the government has used 600 billion yen of tax for the Gentan policy. Moreover, people has burden of 400 billion yen because of buying expensive Japanese rice, unquote. So people are forced to pay money in vain. Effect. After the plan, the rice tariff will be removed and Gentan policy will disappear as we said in Advantage 1. And the government will not need to waste 600 billion yen with meaningless policies. Therefore, the price of rice in domestic market will be cheap as we also said in Advantage 1. The average price of Japanese rice will be less than 133 yen per kilogram. According to Canon Institute, quote, only after abolishing Gentan policy, Japanese rice price will be 133 yen per kilogram, unquote. If government reduces the waste, consumers will also be able to reduce the waste. So consumers will be able to buy cheaper rice by government using people's tax efficiently. Importance. If Japan keeps the tariff, it will continue to waste money and cause economic damage. The tax is the people's money, so Japan must use its money efficiently. And in the future, the consumption tax will rise steadily, so people's lives will surely be difficult. Rice is a Japanese staple food, and people eat it every day. If the benefit from cheap rice doesn't occupy a big part of home expense, it will add up. So, and even if it's only 10%, it is sure that Japanese government cannot adjust the domestic rice price, so Gentan policy will disappear and Japanese farmer will take away their share. No one knows who will be deprived of their share. So it's sure all farmers will under fear of impending crisis, so they will face a challenge. It is that. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, speaker. We will now have a 1-minute preparation time. Preparation time has ended. We will now have questions from the negative side for 3 minutes. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and audience. My name is Miku Yamada, and I would like to ask some questions. So first of all, in 81, you said that First of all, so your links for both 81 and 82 is that Gentan will be abolished after the plan, right?
Sorry, I said advantage 2. It is a mistake. So I said in the advantage. I said in the advantage 1 that it is Gentan policy will be unnecessary. Yes.
Then what is the, okay, thank you. So in 81, the link is Gentan, right?
So the obstacle.
Okay. I'm sorry, please continue.
Sorry. So not is the main obstacle is the Gentan policy. Main obstacle is the high tariff. This makes the high tariff makes most farmers conservative. So it is the.
Okay, so it's the farmers' feeling. So right now they're conservative, but after the plan they'll put more effort.
Yes.
Okay, so where do you prove that farmers will so even if farmers put effort into it, where do you prove that farmers will actually be able to be successful in their effort?
How? Okay, after the plan, they will try to decrease the cost of production.
Yes, so where do you prove that they will actually be able to do that?
Yes, able.
Where do you prove that they will actually be able to do that?
Okay, so after the plan, so I have the process of the.
Oh, is it large-scale farming and also machines?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And for the machines, where do you prove that after the plan, farmers will be able to? Why don't farmers use machines right now? Because they're conservative?
So after the plan, it will be more. We also said the personal expense will decrease. So
why will personal expense decrease?
So because after the plan they will share their farmlands, and now the 3%.
And what does that have to do with the cost of machines?
Yes, they will share machines.
Oh,
yes.
so they were share machines. Okay, thank you. And so in 81,
Yes.
Who is suffering from the declining in agriculture right now?
Is it Japan?
Japan?
Yes.
How is it suffering?
So
Is it that, are you saying that if,
because rice is the last food, we can keep stable supply ourselves. But if present situation continues, the last food will disappear and people's lives will be affected.
okay, thank you. And next I would like to ask about 82. So what is the change on people's lives after the plan? How exactly will consumers' lives change?
So after the plan, now the people's money will be used in vain. So it is the burden of people. So after the plan,
Oh, so you're saying that because it's in vain, it's a problem?
yes. in
Okay,
vain-
thank you. And so what exactly is your link for 82? Could you explain again? It's not Gentan?
Sorry. Thank
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, speakers. Question time has ended. We will now hear the negative constructive speech for 4 minutes. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and audience. My name is Kali Matsuki, and I'll begin. DA1, damage to farmers, Penetration, 1. People want to buy foreign rice because it is cheap. Sangin Nagano 2008 quote. And the apparent trend is that consumers are looking for cheaper rice because the decline in working wages as a result of non-regular employment, unquote. 2. However, because of high tariffs, which is 778%, there's no competition with Japanese farmers. 3. There are many full-time farmers, and they depend on rice farming for most of their income. According to Norinjuki Kenkyushu 2012, there are about 250,000 full-time rice farmers, unquote. MFF 2006, quote, over 80% of the income of full-time rice farmer is farming income, unquote. Effect, 1. Cheap foreign Japanese rice will be imported. According to MFF 2013, January, the average POS exchange price for Japanese rice was 430 yen for 1 kilogram. On the other hand, Chinese Japanese rice is 68 yen per kilogram. 2. Consumers will buy cheaper rice. Nikkei 2013, quote, last year, cheap Chinese rice was popular. Consumers are not shying away from imported rice like they did in the 1990s, unquote. 3. As Japanese stop buying rice made by Japanese farmers, rice farmers will suffer huge damage. Japan Business Press 2011, quote, according to the survey of MFF, after the rice tariff will be removed, 90% of Japanese rice will be replaced by foreign rice, unquote. Importance. Farmers will be in poverty. Tokyo Daiko Professor Daigo, 2013, quote, if Japan joins CPP and tariffs on rice are removed, In almost all firms, farming income will be in the red, unquote. After this ban, the situation will be worse as we will remove tariffs on rice imports from all countries. DA2, dangers to health, present situation. 1, foreign rice is very dangerous. I'll use 3 examples. A, arsenic, CNN Health 2012. Arsenic in American rice will increase the arsenic in human bodies by 44% if we eat rice or rice products once each day. B, lead. According to Mail Online UK 2013, rice imported from some countries contains high levels of lead that could pose a health risk to children. Lead was detected highest from China and Taiwan, and significantly high level was detected from the United States, India, Thailand, and others. Unquote. C, cadmium. Like in 2011, quote, 24.8% of rice in the Chinese market was contaminated by lead and 10.3% by cadmium. Rice is still being made in heavily contaminated areas because of lack of regulations, and cadmium is hardly ever found in the trading process, unquote. 2. However, only a small amount of foreign rice is sold in Japan because of high tariffs. According to JCast News 2013, Seiyu is the only big supermarket in Japan that sells Chinese rice, and it is sold in just 6 prefectures. There's no harm right now. Effect 1. Japanese regulation is so weak that even very dangerous rice will flow into Japan. Journalist Aonuma 2013, quote, human-killing Chinese rice contains 0.21 to 0.4 milligram cadmium. This rice cannot be used in China because the restriction is 0.2 milligram. However, Japanese restriction is loose at 0.4 milligram. So very dangerous rice that cannot be sold in China will flow in, unquote. 2. Eating foreign rice regularly will cause dangers. As for arsenic, CNN Health 2012, quote, arsenic causes lung, skin, and bladder cancer, and it could interfere with brain development and reduce childhood intelligence, unquote. As for cadmium, like in 2011, quote, in China 2006, there were 2 deaths from cadmium poisoning and 150 people chronically intoxicated. Importance. Many lives will be damaged or even lost because of this polluted rice. The government should not put its citizens in danger. I will check the levels. DA1, damage to farmers. DA2, dangerous to health. Thank you.
Preparation time has ended. We will now have questions from the affirmative side for 3 minutes. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
My name is Honoka. I'll start my question time. Your disadvantage 1 is damage to farmer, right?
Yes.
And your disadvantage 2 is dangerous rice will appear in domestic market, right?
Yes, dangerous to
Okay,
health.
so first I have a question to your disadvantage 1.
Okay.
So after the plan, what kind of rice Japanese people will eat?
They were
Japonica rice or indica rice?
both.
Both? Why can you say so? Do you have any evidence?
Because according to our disadvantage 1, the price of Japanese rice will drop.
Okay, thank
So
you.
we will have choice to eat both.
Okay, I will go to next question. So you said full-time farmer will be damaged, right?
Yes.
So how many full-time farmer in Japan?
According to our evidence in presentation 3, 250,000
So
full-time
what
rice
percent
farmers.
in the Japan that number is?
This percentage is about 20%.
20%?
Yes.
In all Japanese people?
Oh no, in farmers.
Farmers? Okay, thank you. And next, you say after the plan, Japanese rice will not be sold.
We didn't say that will not be sold.
Okay, most of Japanese rice will shift to foreign rice.
Yes, we will.
Right?
replace
So why
rice for
Japanese
rice.
people will buy foreign rice?
Because as we said in, okay, going back to our DA1's presentations evidence, in evidence 1, we proved that Japanese people are looking for cheaper rice, and also
okay, thank
they're,
you.
and also in our
Okay,
evidence
thank
in
you. I
FX,
go to your disadvantage too.
Okay.
So, what country's rice is dangerous?
sorry, can you repeat
What
again?
country's rice is dangerous?
We mentioned China, Taiwan, and United States, India, Thailand.
So, but you only have the data about China, right?
No, we have data from the United States, India, Thailand,
Okay, please
and
show me
also
later.
China.
Okay, next. So, do you have any evidence which chemical rice will appear in Japan by now?
Because our constructed speech is not talking about Japanese rice, so
No,
it's not relevant.
even now, by now, some foreign dangerous rice will appear in domestic market.
But the amount is very small, so there's no harm, as we proved in our presentation.
Okay, thank you, Send. So you said Chinese rice and US rice and Indian rice is dangerous.
Yes.
And these countries people are eating this rice,
Maybe.
and these people will killed by this rice.
As for cadmium, and as we proved in the presentation C, 1C, cadmium is causing right now like
And 2 people
2
will
deaths
kill.
and 150 people for infected. Sorry, thank you.
Preparation time has ended. We will now hear the negative attack speech for 2 minutes. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges and audience. My name is Riko Ishimoto, and I'll begin. First of all, they said 82's decreasing of price happens only when 81 happen. Please confirm this. And I'd like to attack 81, present situation and importance. Attack 2, there is no necessity. Nogi Business Asakawa 2013 quote. It is not true that there is no future for agriculture because of aging farmers. Only 10% domestic agricultural product is made by farmers over 65, unquote. And there are many young farmers. And attack 3, 81 effect. Rice prices didn't rise because of the reducing acreage policy. According to Nentokei, if you look at the actual rice price, it has risen. However, the price converted into today's worth has stayed the same or decreased slightly. So abolishing the reducing acreage policy will bring no price change. And attack 4 effect, they didn't prove how farmers do effort and that they can succeed in it, and it's wrong. The only reason that prices will decrease is that large-scale farming will occur. That is impossible in Japan. It's because of geographic reasons. Daigo Satoshi, Tokyo Daigaku 2013 quote. In Japan, where the farmers are scattered in mountainsides omit, the expansion of each farms, which leads to decline in production cost, is nearly impossible, unquote. And attack 5, farmers that part-time farmers have is not attractive for large-scale farmers. 2013 news Kokashi quote. Much if the land which part-time farmers are farming is unsuited for farming and is not attractive for large-scale farmers and agricultural companies. Unquote. So 81 effect won't happen. And attack 6, let's move on to 82. There is no effect because 81's effect won't happen. And attack 8, 81's effect, importance. They didn't prove actual price and the amount is too little. If occur, the amount is too little. Somusho, quote, the average food consumption for a household with more than 2 people is about 67,000 yen per month in 2011, unquote. So there is no change to consumers' lives. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have questions from the affirmative side for 2 minutes. Are you ready?
Okay.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson and judges. My name is Ayane. I'll start my question then. Do you have 8 attack points?
Yes, 7.
7, okay, thank you. And for your first attack point, what do you mean? Please tell me.
First attack is, first of all, they said 82's decreasing of price happens only when 81's effect happen.
First attack point, large scale farming's attack.
Fourth is, it's because of geographic reasons. In Japan, large-scale farming won't occur, can't occur.
Please tell me a reason. Why can you say so? Why can you say so?
So there is many scattered in mountainsides. There is many farms and scattered in mountainsides.
Okay,
So
and for your fifth attack point, what do you mean? Please tell me the
attack
process.
okay, farms that part-time farmers have is not attractive for large-scale farmers. So much if the land which part-time farmers are so unsuited for farming, and it's
Why part-time farmers not attractive? Please tell me
because
the reason.
this evidence shows prove that. Can I read this?
Show me
So
right
much
there.
if the land which...
Show me right there, please.
Okay.
For your second point, you said young people are increasing now.
Yes, and there is
And so-
only 10% domestic agriculture products is made by farmers over 65. And
So-
there are many young farmers, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question time has ended. We will now hear the affirmative attack speech for 2 minutes. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson and judges. My name is Shimizu. For the disadvantage one, they said after the plan, 19% of Japanese rice is to foreign rice, but it is not true. I have two reasons. First, about price. According to Canon Code, Japanese people don't eat long grain rice, unquote. And according to Yomiuri newspaper code, the average of international Japanese rice is 167 yen per kilogram, unquote. This price is higher than Japanese rice after the plan. So the Japanese farmer can sell rice. Second, about amount. There is not so much Japonica rice in the world market. According to Yomiuri newspaper quote, the trading amount of rice Japonica in the world is less than 2 million ton, unquote. This amount is only 10% in Japanese consumption. So farmers surely sell rice. And even if foreign country increase the production, Japanese farmer can continue because according to Kyushu University quote, the Japanese productivity of rice is highest in Japan, so unquote. So farmer can cost down and disadvantage one doesn't stand. Moreover, disadvantage one target is only 0.002% in Japanese people, so disadvantage one is weak. For disadvantage two, first, Japanese people and Japanese check system is enough because there is not accident of danger rice in Japan, so disadvantage two have no possibility. Second, even if chemical rice appear in Japanese market, it is not problem because according to HEnDA Kenkyūjo code, 95% of rice chemical will disappear on processed cook and it don't influence on human body, unquote. So their disadvantage has no impact. And moreover, Japan, according to the Canon Global code, Japan use much chemical more than all foreign countries. So, but we eat this rice every day. So their impact is no. Thank you. I have a 3 attack for 3 だっけ?
Thank you. We will now have questions from the negative side for 2 minutes. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and all the audience. My name is Eriko Kuimoto, and I'll begin. So let's start with GA2, the danger to health. So in the last attack, you said that Japan has chemical as well, right?
Japanese rice?
Japanese rice has chemical as
But
well,
actually,
right?
I want to say, Japanese people eat Japanese rice every day, but we don't influence. And moreover,
So,
process on cook, those chemicals will disappear
Well, in Japan?
in Japan. Japanese
why
cooking-
did they disappear? Why did they disappear?
Right, and according to HEnDA Kenkyūjo code, most of rice chemical will disappear on process of cook. So
I'm sorry, what's the process of food?
okay, wash the rice and
Wash the rice?
go炊飯器.
Okay, I understand. So, but you still admit that there's 5% of the chemicals still remain, right?
5%.
Yep.
No, what I want to say, those chemicals don't influence on human body after the
Okay,
process
I
on
understand
cook.
that. So okay, so where is the proof that government will wash rice?
Wash?
You said wash.
Sorry, pardon?
Okay, I move on to the next question. So about GA1, I move on to GA1. You said that the Japanese rice is much higher, so Japanese rice will be lower than, Japanese rice will be much lower than foreign rice, you said, right?
After the plan, Average of international Japanese
did
rice
you
is
say that?
167 yen.
So you said that.
You said, yeah,
Okay.
I said.
Okay. So it's compared to was. So you mean that
Rice?
the Japanese rice? So you're comparing with the 81s and 81. And 80 to happen. So comparing the Japanese rice, which if 81 happens, like you're talking about the right
What
now
do you want to-
current Japanese rice price.
Please summarize your question.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Question time has ended. We will now have a 2-minute preparation time. Preparation time has ended. We will now hear the affirmative defense speech for 2 minutes. Are you ready?
Thank you, Chairperson and judges. My name is Ayane. But for the second attack point, they say young people are interested in agriculture, but it is weak. According to Food Peptide, quote, some young people are interested in agriculture because of job shortage now, unquote. So if job shortage recover, young people want to get job in business and so on. So their attack is weak. Second, for the fourth attack point, they say Japan is a mountain area, so gathering farmland is difficult. But our goal is not large-scale farming, but the decrease of the cost of production. And according to Choden Kenkyujo, quote, Japanese productivity is higher than foreign it, unquote. So if farmers become motivated, the Gentan policy is removed, the productivity will rise and the personal expense will decrease, and they will not attack this point, so the cost of production will decrease surely. Third, for their fifth attack point, they said part-time farmers don't want to rent farmland, but their data is the present situation, and the situation between now and after the plan is different. After the plan, part-time farmers' agricultural income will disappear because they quit. Then if they rent farmland, they will get subsidy. So when farmers suffer from difficult situation, they will have priority over benefit for living in the first place. So they cannot help renting farmland. Fourth, for their seventh attack point, they said people's merit is small. But what we want to say, after the plan, people's lives will be shareless because of the increase of the consumption tax. In such a situation, it is very important for people to save as much money as possible. Many a little makes a miracle. So their attack does not apply to our advantage too. And fifth, for their first and sixth attack point, from this defense point, our advantage one will happen, so our advantage two will also happen. And sixth, for their third attack point, they calculate themselves, so their their attack is unclear. And the data is also unclear, so their third attack point doesn't stand. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. We will now hear the negative defense speech for 2 minutes. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson, all honorable judges, and all the audience. My name is Eriko Kimoto, and I'll begin. So let's start with GA1, danger to farmers. First of all, I will prove that Japanese will buy foreign rice. And in first attack, they say that Japanese rice will be much lower than Japanese rice. But however, this evidence, I checked this evidence, but this evidence only stands if they're 80 cents. So as we successfully explained in attack speech, there won't be any decrease in Japanese rice made by Japanese. So this attack doesn't stand. And about second one, they say that in world market there's not much Japanese rice, but however, their evidence is too old. I have a newer evidence. Kyushu University Professor Ito, quote, in China, there is a sharp rise in rice production in Korisho province. In this province alone, there is more production of Japanese rice than in Japan. If an increase in Japanese market evident, improvement of rice quality to meet Japan, The impact of the trend of Japanese food and sushi be strong. Japanese rice production is increasing. In China, it is used to be produced only 5 provinces, but recently it is spreading to many provinces around Tokyo, Yunnan province, and others. Also in Kogure province, it was only less than 0.8 million hectares in 90s, but now it became 2.3 million, and production amount is more than 10 million tons, while Japan's gross production is much lesser than that. So their evidence is really old, so don't take this. So it means that they said even they're at 0.002%, but still there is 250,000 people suffering with this DA1. So this is really large. So let's move on to DA2. But they say that there's no danger in Japan, so it's okay. But actually, there's no danger because there's no foreign rice that much in Japan. Please confirm this. And also, they said about there's 50% chemical with decrease. But however, their only proof is that they're gonna wash rice. But however, as well, in Chinese people will wash rice as well. So even if it happens, there is a 5%. They'll kill 2 deaths. Please confirm effect 2 second evidence. We said that 2 deaths will occur and 150 a year will chronically disease. Thank you.
Thank you. Preparation time has ended. We will now hear the affirmative summary speech for 3 minutes. Are you ready?
Okay.
Please say your name and start.
My name is Honoka. I will start my summary speech. First, I will explain why the disadvantages possibility is low. The disadvantage 1 and 2 both stand up be based off data which 90% of Japanese rice will shift to foreign rice. But this 90% data is wrong. I have 2 reasons. First reason, as we prove in that speech, majority of Japanese people are eating Japonica rice, and there are only 10% of Japanese consumption Japonica rice in the world. So even if Japan imports all this rice, only 10% of Japanese rice shifts to foreign rice. And even if foreign country increase the product of Japonica rice, as we said in that speech, still expensive than Japanese rice. So it is impossible to think 90% of Japanese rice shifts to foreign rice. And the second reason, 90% data calculated based on all foreign rice is 57 yen. But this data is the cheapest price data. However, the average foreign Japonica rice is 167 yen. This price is more expensive than after the plant's Japanese 133 yen price data. And this 133 yen price is only aberration of Gentan policy. So if farmers do large-scale farming, this Japanese rice price will be less than 133 yen. And even if it is only 10%, it is sure that Japanese government cannot adjust the domestic rice price. So Gentan policy will disappear, and Japanese farmer will take away their share. So, and no one knows who will take their share. So it is sure all farmers will under the face of crisis, and all farmers will face of challenge. And second, I will explain our advantage 1 and the disadvantage 1, talking about completely problem. So if our advantage 1 will happen, the disadvantage 1 will not happen, and full-time farmer will not suffer. Therefore, please compare which have more possibility, our advantage 1 or disadvantage 1. Of course, our advantage 1. I have 4 reasons. First reason, as we prove, 90% of Japanese rice will not shift to foreign rice. Only 10% shift. So full-time farmer can continue their farming. And the second reason, cutting down personal expensive, and they didn't attack the point of cutting down personal expenses, for example, using machine and so on. So it is sure full-time farmer can make their rice more cheap. And the third reason, they didn't attack the point of exporting. So it is sure after the plan, full-time farmer can export rice to foreign country and can get merit. And fourth, as we said in defense speech, full-time farmer can do large-scale farming. So our advantage 1 surely happen. Third, please compare which is more emergency problem or advantage 1 or disadvantages. They said present rice agriculture is satisfactory. But we said in our advantage 1, the problem of present rice agriculture is aging. So even if present situation is satisfactory, in the future the number of rice farmers will decrease. It means that if Japan keeps the present situation, rice agriculture will be destroyed after 8 years certainly. And whether or not Japan introduces this plan, the disadvantage will happen. So if so, Japan should introduce this plan which have possibility of improvement. So our advantage 1 is more emergency problem than their disadvantages. First, I will explain why our advantage 2 will surely stand. They misunderstand our advantage 2. What we want to say in our advantage 2, unnecessary policy of government makes rice high price and waste people's money. If Japan keeps the present situation, Japan continue to waste money, and they didn't attack the process of our advantage 2. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. We will now hear the final speech of this round, the negative summary speech for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and audience. My name is Miku Yamada, and I would like to summarize this debate. First of all, I would like to summarize this debate from the viewpoint of quality, impact on people's lives. First of all, look at 81. In their present situation, they said that Japan's agriculture has no future. However, we attacked this, saying that only 10% of agriculture products is made by people over 65. They did not defend this. So most of Japan's agriculture is dependent on young farmers. So there's no problem even if we continue the present situation. So there's no necessity for this plan. And we proved that large-scale farming is we cannot do large-scale farming in Japan because expansion is impossible. And in their cross-examination, they said that they could use machines because they will share land. But so this will also not happen. And there was no strong evidence for their exports. So nothing will happen after 81. And so there would be no impacts on people's lives. And furthermore, think of this. Right now, they didn't prove that people will suffer if we continue this present situation. So there will be no impacts on people's lives. Second, please look at 82. We proved that rice prices won't change even if we stop the reducing price, even if we stop the Gensan Seisaku, because it's not, there's no real connection between them. We showed a graph, and we showed that large-scale farming is impossible. So Japanese rice won't fall to 130 yen. And though they said, and they didn't defend the fact that it is really small and it won't really affect people's lives. Maybe it is better if we can save more money, but that won't really change people's lives. And and consumers aren't suffering right now, so there is no need to implement this plan. On the other hand, please look at the negative side. In DA1, we proved that because the fact that Japanese rice will be cheaper is wrong, people will buy cheap foreign rice. And we defended the fact that there is not much Japanese rice in the world by saying that in just one province in China, there's 10 million tons, which is more than Japan's consumption. So so 90% will definitely be replaced, and all farmers will be in the red, and they'll be in severe poverty. 250,000 people will be in severe poverty. This is very serious, and this will destroy these people's lives. And as for DA2, they said that Japanese rice is dangerous, and they said that chemicals will decrease during cooking rice, but they didn't. That was just about Japanese chemicals. We proved that arsenic, lead, and cadmium causes real harm in foreign countries. So these chemicals will not vanish even if we cook rice. So what will happen if these consumers eat this rice? There was 2 deaths and 150 people intoxicated in just 1 year by cadmium. People's lives will be destroyed after the plan. So the Japanese government should think about what is more important. Right now there's no real problem to people's lives, but after the plan, people's lives will be destroyed. We must not implement this plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, friends, once again! How was the tournament? Was it good? Yeah! Thanks, I thought so too. As a chief judge, I would like to start from a sincere thanks to all of the teachers who brought the brightest students here in this Matsumoto University. And obviously, all the devoted teachers of Nagano Prefecture and the staff of Nagano Prefecture and Arukuraku maybe for their hard effort. Thank you very much. About the 2 teams of the final round, their effort in the final round is a typical example of this quality of the whole tournament. I am quite sure that the quality of this tournament, the whole tournament, was top class. We started 7 years ago, but we have come a long way. In these debates, we need a lot of evidence. Evidence is the core of rational arguments. So to define good debate, one of the definitions is how well the evidence is used. And obviously, this is a very tough topic. the rice tariff is actually debated by Japanese government and United States government and all the TPP people. But obviously, we need evidence to support our positions. And that's what the two girl teams were doing in the final round. And I hope you will praise the two excellent teams for their effort in the final round. They're standing there. As I mentioned, evidence is very important, and in the whole tournament, the usage of evidence the number of evidence quoted has increased quite a lot. But I have to warn some things about the usage of evidence too. It is very important to quote evidence, but you have to be careful about three things. That's not only about the two teams here, but about you all. First thing, if you want to quote a lot of evidence, you have to be really careful about how to read it. I mean, the articulation is very important. Some of the teams, not necessarily the finalist teams, but some of the teams were quoting like this. 60 people will be damaged. Does it make sense? Obviously, if you want to quote important numbers, you have to quote it slowly. Obviously, generally, you have to slow down when you quote important things. Not just the numbers, but you have to be very articulate too. For example, if you want to emphasize the numbers, you quote like around 250,000 people will be damaged. That kind of articulation will emphasize your impact. So please slow down when you are quoting a very important number. And second thing you should take care of is the authority of the evidence. Obviously, it is very important to quote data that are reliable. In that sense, the authority is very important. So you should always quote what was the source of your evidence. And obviously, this is a very good thing to take into account when you are an opponent. Some of the teams quoted a lot from Ministry of Agriculture. Ministry of Agriculture, obviously, is a governmental institution, but they have their interest too in agriculture. So their simulations may not be as reliable as some neutral scientists there. May not be. There are some government people here, so I'm sorry. But I'm not talking about Ministry of Education. I'm talking about different ministry. I'm sorry. But obviously, if you want to support your argument, please quote the source. And at the same time, distinguish which part is the original data and which part is your own calculation. Some of the schools did your own calculations deciding the impact of, for example, the cheaper rice coming into Japan. That's okay, but you have to specify which part is the calculation and which part is the original data. You should quote that the data from Ministry of Agriculture suggests that the price is this, and we calculated that the damage will be this. You should specify the difference between the original quotation and your speculations. And the third thing that you should take into account is that if you use a lot of evidence and if you quote a lot of facts, you often get into contradictions within your own arguments. I mean, your own team's argument. You may contradict your partner's argument. For example, in the final round, there was a lot of argument about productivity of Japanese rice. The affirmative attack talked that the Japanese rice productivity is very high, the highest in Japan. But if that was so, what would happen in the constructive speech talking that the Japanese productivity will be higher if there is competition from other countries? That might not be a contradiction, but it seems to be killing each other in terms of the same catchword productivity. So please be careful about your own positions when you're quoting a lot of data. That's the general comment. About the final round, both sides presented well-structured arguments, and actually the two attack speakers were very good. So the two advantages were like decreased to nothing after the attack speeches. After that, there was a difference between the defense and the summary speeches, but I will have to praise the attack speakers who were doing a wonderful job of decreasing the opponent's issues. Affirmative presented two advantages. Future of agriculture will be damaged. They argue that in 8 years, if we did nothing, Japanese agriculture will be gone. Advantage two was we are wasting a lot of tax money, and we're wasting a lot of money for high-priced rice. Negative argued two disadvantages. One is about the damage to the Japanese farming when the cheap rice comes, and second about the poisoned rice will come. Obviously, we took into account a lot of attacks, and I want to get into it deeply, but it will take like 30 minutes, and people are looking at me already to shorten the speech. So I would like to ask Arakuma-kun, what was the result? Who voted for which? Oh, you're sad. Actually, okay. Actually, 5 of the judges thought that the negative attacks on the advantage was strong enough to kill a lot of advantage, but the negative at least was enough to show that there will be some damage caused by health issues and the damage to the farmers. So all of the judges actually voted to the Cinderella girls from Kobe College. Congratulations.